Welcome to Annex Cloud Market Movers, where we bring in experts and luminaries to help us through the current times. Today, I'm very, very excited to bring in George Chang. George is the Executive Marketplace Analyst at VTEX, and he has an extremely varied background in commerce in general. George, welcome to the discussion.
Hi, Al. Great to be here.
Wonderful. Well, George, if we may start with a little bit of an introduction about yourself, your role at VTEX, a little bit of background about VTEX and yourself, that'd be great.
Sure. Thanks, Al. So I am the marketplace practice lead here at VTEX. Spent 20 years in the e-commerce space with multiple executive roles in Rakuten, Sears, Newegg, and I was also the CEO of a betting startup, one of the largest e-commerce betting online retailers. And yeah, now I've been at VTEX, which to me is kind of the next great e-commerce platform. So if you were to take the ease of Shopify and marry it with the flexibility of SAP Hybris, and then supercharge it, that was kind of what you have with VTEX. We're the only platform that has the e-commerce marketplace and OMS natively out of the box. So real excited to be here and talk more about kind of the e-commerce trends.
That's great. And I love the marketplace aspect of what you bring to the differentiator. Maybe we start with that part of the discussion, if that's okay. Marketplace for many marketers was sort of a thing that Amazons and Walmarts of the world focus on. But you've brought it a little different. You've brought it essentially where other businesses can now leverage marketplace to grow their business. Can you talk a little bit about the evolution of marketplaces and how businesses are starting to use it better now within the marketing mix?
Absolutely. And marketplaces aren't a new concept. They've been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, right? Where you have, someone that's providing or selling something and somebody that wants to buy it, right? And I think, marketplaces in the e-commerce sense in the United States have typically been kind of a big boys game, if you will, right? And a lot of that is due to the barriers in technology. A lot of that's due to kind of the knowledge that's being locked in certain places. But in the last, couple of years, and certainly accelerated because of COVID, marketplaces have exploded across the board. And the reason for that is they've demonstrated the ability to be agile, to be flexible, to have access to inventory, right, and to be able to scale in an environment that that's viral. So if you look at companies like Uber and DoorDash, with their $60 billion valuations, those are marketplaces. And Al, I think what you're starting to see now is you're going to see an emergence of a lot of marketplaces opening in 2021 because of the pandemic. They've really looked at their business model and started to ask themselves, where can I unlock, the full power of where I am in my ecosystem today? So, typically in the past, marketplaces have been dominated by the big guys. You're going to see that start to change.
What I love about this aspect is if you are a brand and any business for that matter, and you have a sizable loyal audience that's coming to you for whatever you do today, whatever products or services you offer, if you can expand the scope of those products and services with anything that is complementary to the same audience, you're now giving them a more better way to stay loyal with you. They're coming more often because you've essentially expanded the scope, and you've sort of given the ability to kind of monetize that audience a little bit more than you normally would have, in my perspective. And again, it's a little bit narrow from there. Loyalty, again, that's sort of our background where we come from, again, is has seen a big boost over the last year, as marketplaces have, where the focus on current loyal customers is exploding because as businesses come out of the pandemic, they're starting to refocus on their customers to build their business back up, while they're exploring marketplaces as an option to sort of grow their business as well. How do you foresee, in your experience being in e-commerce for a while, the focus on retention and loyalty in general, and then how loyalty can tie in with a marketplace?
Right. Well, look, it's no secret that customer satisfaction and loyalty are the key, important, critical element for any business, whether you're a brand, distributor, and retailer. And what the marketplace, kind of allows with its model is the ability to have a better level of satisfaction. So, if you're a B2C company or even a B2B company, right, if you know your customers and you're able to provide them what they're looking for, then they're going to be, have a high level of satisfaction. You're going to have a high level of loyalty. If you don't have what they're looking for, they're going to go to a competitor, right? And so, it's even more true for B2B companies. A customer has established a relationship, with a company. They're buying products, but if they don't have what they want, they're going to go for someone else. So they go hand in hand. As a matter of fact, there was a Forrester total economic impact report that showed that companies that had a marketplace actually had a longer lifetime value, customer lifetime value, and a high level of satisfaction. So when you talk about customer loyalty and marketplaces, they go hand in hand.
Absolutely. And one of the things I would add is specifically loyalty management when it comes to managing it for marketplaces, because you now have, multiple masters, so to speak, right? You've got your sellers, and you've got your consumers, which would be the case, and then you've got the company itself that's running the marketplace that probably has their own brand. In that capacity, running that sort of loyalty management with that sort of specific sort of mix is a very interesting ploy, because at the end of the day, you're both serving the common customer and consumer, but at the same time, you have to make sure it works for both sides as well. So it's a very, very interesting play to kind of bring it all together from a marketplace perspective. Shifting gear to your e-commerce experience a little bit. You've been in the world for a very long time, and we've all been battling in terms of the e-commerce being part of the mix, and how big is e-commerce as part of the mix. And it took us almost a decade to go from 5% of the mix to 15% of the mix. I'm talking about general retail. Like, retail would still be 95% in store and 5% online now. Average became closer to more like 15% online before the pandemic, and it's jumped to from 15 to 25, in some cases 30 on these holidays, and what I'm hearing of the mix. And some of it's got to do with the challenges in stores. But what is your take in terms of what impact this has on businesses? Is going to stay? And then from a technology provider perspective, what does this place on you to be able to have the agility to now be supporting a much bigger piece of the pie?
Yeah, that's a great point. I remember, back in the day when e-commerce was 3 or 4% of total retail, and we were evangelizing, hey, e-commerce is the next great thing. And fast forward, one out of every $4 spent is spent online, right? It's a crazy world we live in. And just like you said, because things have accelerated so fast, it's causing these different dynamics across the board. And to answer your question, how does it kind of change things? Well, it really depends on where you are on the digital spectrum, right? If you were one of those who were kind of on the cusp or the spear of innovation, you're going to continue to innovate. You're going to continue to drive new experiences. You're going to continue to use and leverage, what you have in position to gather more customers, create better customer loyalty. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, if you're kind of lagging behind and you weren't able to kind of jump ahead, you're looking at your business and thinking, wow, how am I going to survive? How am I going to make the leap? What are the barriers technologically? What are the barriers psychologically or inherent within an organization, to kind of help me get to the next step? So the pressure is, for us as a vendor, is being able to adjust to every situation, right? And so now everyone's kind of got their eyes focused on e-commerce. They're looking to us to help them. We were talking to one of our clients who just recently signed with us, and they've got a great growing business. But they're looking at us and say, look, how can you help us quickly get from point A to point B and do it in half the time and half the cost? So I think, us as being vendors is, how do we, innovate ourselves to meet the demands of our clients, to meet the demands of their customers?
That makes sense. And I think two specific questions come out of what you just told me. The first one is, how different is it in Latin America? And just for everyone else, just their benefit, I mean, VTEX is a leader in Latin America. You've got, more business, e-commerce business than many others in that space. But it's also a very different kind of, geography, location, comes with a whole different set of challenges around delivery, around consumer expectations, around many other things. And the impact of COVID has been pretty tremendous in that region as well. So how do you foresee, what do you see in the LATAM space, or in the region generally, as it comes to e-commerce that's different sort of more in Latin, in North America, for example?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ali. Most of us obviously here are in North America, and e-commerce has been around for a long, long time. In countries like Latin America, where it's less rigid and there's less traditional boundaries, they're able to evolve much faster. So their pace of innovation in a lot of respects are actually much quicker and accelerating even more than what's happening in the United States. So for example, when COVID hit, quickly, the buying behavior shifted. And one of the things that we did to meet those needs is we created and stood up a functionality that allows stores that should have a scheduling system in the store where you can actually have slot management, and you can actually schedule your meetings in the store. So Latin America, as a market is exploding and evolving so quick. Another use case that I can think of is Whirlpool, one of our major customers there, was looking to generate better customer satisfaction, better loyalty. So they have a mentality where they actually leveraged a marketplace where they're selling their products, but they don't sell Whirlpool TVs. So what do? They reach out to a partner in LG. They're selling LG TVs. So the boundaries that we have a lot of times in North America being institutionalized, they don't have it in Latin America. So they're growing and evolving very, very quickly, very fast. We have another partner we just launched, Payless, who launched the United States, and they're launching 6 Latin American locations in Q1. They're expecting omni-channel, to be or e-commerce to be 40% of their business. So that's how they see the opportunity in Latin America versus the United States. So it's a very vibrant, very rich kind of growing dynamic that's different than what you see in North America.
That's awesome. The second part to my previous question, around when you said the changes are happening and the growth of e-commerce, was around speed and agility. You mentioned customers are looking to get up and running quickly, especially if they're behind the curve. They have a lot of catch up to do. They have a lot of things to digitize their business. If they are leading, they still are being asked by their consumers to do a lot. I mean, one of the things, for example, we all know about, right? We want to be able to deliver from our store. If we're a store-based situation and there's a problem with COVID and I can't deliver from a centralized distribution center, maybe I can ship from store. Maybe I can, have, pick up from store. Maybe there's other things that I need to stay more agile and serve my customers. From your perspective, one of the other things I've seen change is that microservice-based architecture coming into e-commerce and essentially what we call now headless, and essentially the ability to kind of do this in a much more agile way. At the end of the day, whatever term we use, what it gives the end customer is the speed, the agility, and the flexibility to control the display and their microservices in a more cohesive way. How do you sort of see, how important do you see that in the sort of upcoming years as it comes to, helping customers build and scale their e-commerce?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think a lot of folks have seen the word headless, have seen the word microservices based architecture, but I can tell you, being on the front lines, the paradigm shift is happening, and I think COVID has really accelerated that. When you have a monolithic system where you want to make a change on one end, but affects 15 different downstream programs, that's not the way to become agile. If we've learned from anything, it's all about being agile. It's all about being flexible. So I think that's where VTEX obviously comes in, and we have a very elegant solution that we allow customers to enjoy the full benefits of a microservices architecture. But we also have out of the box a very rich feature set, right? And so we allow customers the ability to one, take advantage of best of breed solutions. So we have a kind of a basic loyalty program, right, where people can kind of play with it, test it, but once they kind of grow up in it, they can easily bolt on in an Annex cloud and say, look, I want a full featured, I've learned kind of how to do it, but now these are things that I need, right? And so, there's also something we have that's very vibrant. It's called VTEX IO. Let's say, you're building, you kind of expanded your feature set, and you're thinking, okay, well, I now want to build in the VTEX infrastructure. So we have this serverless, low code kind of solution that allows customers to actually extend their solution in the VTEX infrastructure, in a way that's kind of low cost, low effort, and robust.
It's perfect. Well, I know we covered a lot in a fairly short amount of time, George, but this was very, very good. It was very exciting to kind of get you on this discussion, get your viewpoints. So I really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you for doing this. And for everyone else, if you want to watch additional such discussions, please go to annexcloud.com/market movers, where you'll see additional, conversations we've had with market leaders. George, thank you again, and talk soon.
Thank you, Al. It was definitely a pleasure. Take care.